Time to go to the latest in the Gwyneth Paltrow trial. Her children's testimony was read to the jury, recounting what they saw on the ski slopes that day. Paltrow's legal team said her kids, who were 9 and 11 at the time of the incident, had planned on testifying in person, but since things were running behind in court, they were no longer available. Kana Whitworth has the latest.
The civil trial against Goop founder Gwyneth Paltrow fired up this morning as jurors sat front and center to hear long-awaited witness testimonies from the Oscar-winning actress's children, Apple and Moses.
The kids were not available, and mostly I just want to put that on the record. I was expecting to take over the case on Monday morning, given multiple assurances that I could do so, and I was not able to do so.
Paltrow's children, who she shares with Coldplay frontman Chris Martin, testifying through depositions that were read aloud for the jury. Moses recalling seeing his mother on the ground, and Apple describing her mother as frantic after the accident.
I recall skiing with my instructor and briefly seeing the collision. And then he skied over and I followed him. And I saw my mother and a person behind her. When I skied over, I heard my mom yelling at the guy. She was saying something along the lines of, "What the F word? You just ran into me."
She came in and I noticed that she looked a bit shocked, and I asked what had happened, and she said, "This a-hole ran into me. He ran right into my back."
The testimony is painting a different story than the skier, Terry Sanderson, whose attorneys allege Paltrow violently crashed into him on a beginner slope at Deer Valley Resort, a lush ski resort in Park City, Utah in 2016. His legal team saying the accident caused Sanderson permanent brain damage, 4 broken ribs, and emotional distress. Paltrow's attorneys standing ground that Sanderson was behind her at the time of the ski accident, providing a biomechanics engineer to explain the physics behind the fall and ensuring the jury the only version of events that suited the laws of physics was Paltrow's.
If you redo the calculations correctly, what this means is Mr. Sanderson can fall to the ground without Miss Paltrow landing on him and sustain the rib fractures.
That same expert also worked with Paltrow's attorneys to create an animation of a possible reenactment of events using testimonies given by defense witnesses, including Paltrow and one of the resort's ski instructors. A manager for the resort also testifying he found no issue with an incident report filed on the crash. Sanderson's team suggesting the resort may have tried protecting the A-lister due to her celebrity status.
Did it ever occur to you that this instructor might be covering up bad conduct by himself to protect Miss Paltrow, a big spender at Deer Valley?
A portion of what this is really about is the fact of who's involved. This is Gwyneth Paltrow. She's a very well-known celebrity, and that's what's adding the fuel to this fire. Otherwise, this is likely a case that would have settled many years ago and never seen the inside of a courtroom.
Kana Whitworth, thank you. And ABC News contributor, host at the Law and Crime Network, Brian Buckmeyer, joins me now for more on this. Brian, Gwyneth Paltrow's kids' testimony was read aloud to the jury, and they used these animations to go along with the testimony. How effective do you think that was compared to if the kids had been there in person?
It's not as effective, but as we understand, based on scheduling constraints, they had to go with this alternative. I do think it's helpful in the sense of getting that information out, because what we saw is that the kids didn't really corroborate with what Sanderson's attorneys are trying to say, that they were yelling at their mom, "Watch me, watch me, watch me." In fact, it seems like Sanderson's attorneys are arguing the facts and not with facts.
Now, Paltrow's attorneys insist that Sanderson was behind her before the crash, and they put this biomechanical engineer on the stand to testify that, according to the laws of physics, Paltrow's version is more in line with science than Sanderson's. How effective is something like that?
Yeah, so physics is probably my weakest of all the sciences. And I learned the other day that there are biomechanics specifically for skiing. And so I think the fact that Paltrow's attorneys have an expert that specializes in skiing and Sanderson doesn't, it made a lot more sense. And the visuals that he gave and the explanations for very complicated science actually made more sense. On top of that, Paltrow's testimony actually lined up with her expert better than that of Sanderson and his.
Part of this argument is Sanderson saying he suffered cognitive decline because of this accident. Gwyneth Paltrow's team also put an expert on the stand saying that whatever he's experiencing is not because of a ski crash. How effective is that kind of an argument? How much can an expert testify to something like that? And what do you think is coming next?
Well, all fair in love and war, and it seems like in court as well, because it's not just the fact of what the expert said, but they actually put on an expert who had suffered a stroke. So not just what he said, but how he said it. You see how slow he's speaking, and I think they did that intentionally to contrast his testimony with that of Sanderson's. And I think that gives the jury the ability to look and say, hey, maybe Sanderson isn't physically feeling the effects the way that he said he is, and this could be old age, as this expert who literally went through a brain injury and knows the knowledge about this topic is explaining to them.
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, always great to have you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.